I researched it later and discovered that this is one of the well-known biological effects of severe microwave radiation poisoning. Then the severe electronic sexual assaults started. And when I say severe, I really mean extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed in complete fear. This experience, along with the brain being microwaved and along with some internet research, is what made me put the puzzle pieces together to realize that I was experiencing remote external manipulation via electronic weapons, because these symptoms of sexual assault were not physiologically normal or possible without external manipulation. It is not physiologically normal to just have repeated spontaneous orgasms all through the night like that, literally one right after another. And then it all made sense when I learned about microwave weapons. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent. Recently, they even started adding moaning and groaning sounds to the V2K. And started adding moaning and groaning sounds to the V2K, and started putting actual creaking sounds directly in the walls to make it sound as though people are having sex. And I was able to audio record these rhythmic creaking sounds and have submitted this file to the commission. To audio directly in the walls to the V2K, and started putting actual creaking sounds directly in the walls to make it sound as though people are having sex. And I was able to audio record these rhythmic creaking sounds and have submitted this file to the commission. These voices are vulgar, violent, cruel, and constantly threatening and using profanities that I never use. They repeat certain phrases excessively, as I learned that repetition is a form of torture in and of itself. They frequently threaten to give me cancer, a stroke, or other medical emergency. They threaten to hurt my family. They threaten to make me lose all my money. They frequently threaten to do more extreme torture, etc. The voices also frequently tell me to commit suicide, something that is simply out of the question for me. Just the threatening alone is done at extreme levels and is its own form of torture. They coordinate the voices and thought manipulation with the physical torture, so that everything is highly synchronized in real time. They can see everything in my environment before I can, and if something is hidden out of my sight, they can tell me where it is, if they want me to see it. Likewise, they can also make me not see something that is right in front of my face. At first, I thought they were real humans because of how they related to me in real time, just like a human would. But then I realized I was communicating with a very highly advanced form of artificial intelligence that is able to respond and interact faster than the speed of thought to every single thought in my mind, while synchronizing the torture in my body at the same time. The timing of it all, along with the complexity of it all, seems like more than what a human would be capable of doing on their own. I began attending nightly support conference calls with other victims of electronic assault. I quickly saw the patterns in the way many people are targeted, including myself. I believe this is why William Binney and Kirk Wiebe, the NSA whistleblowers, are conducting an international survey of victims of these crimes to show the statistically significant patterns in victims' testimonies. I also came to the realization that my experience was considerably much more extreme than others, not only because of the quality or types of the many various forms of torture, but also the severity levels and the frequency. I realized also that the perpetrators targeting me were using much more advanced technologies than what many others were experiencing and witnessing. especially since others with milder targeting reported improvements with various shielding methods, but none of them worked at all to any degree for me in shielding against these highly advanced military-grade directed energy weapons. At that time, I also watched a History Channel documentary on YouTube on MKUltra and saw some of the victims being horribly tortured, screaming in horrific agony, and I realized that my experience was actually much more comparable to that. And that wasn't what most others were reporting, though some were as well. My experience, unlike many others, involves absolutely horrific torture to the complete extreme on a regular basis. And everywhere I go becomes an absolute torture chamber. In one scene of that MKUltra documentary, a nurse in a hospital talked about a certain room in the hallway that apparently was the experimental room and how she would hear horrific screams coming from that room. Similarly, there are horrific screams from torture coming out of any room I spend significant time in wherever I go. I don't know what program I was put into, but it looks like some form of MKUltra-like program, and others have noted that it looks like some type of eugenics program. Now I would like to talk about some of the evidence that I have been able to collect. I went to a private investigator in March of 2016 by the name of Melinda Kidder, who specialized in these types of cases. She is available for testimony as well. Then I had a professional trace the frequencies using the FCC allocation registrations. I also had a nanopatch test done by a toxicologist by the name of Dr. Hildegard Staninger. The reports revealed that I had synthetic nanotechnology in my body produced in the lab and not at all naturally occurring in the human body, and that the type of nanotechnology used indicated some possible use for non-consensual human experimentation. The frequencies emanating from my body were slightly above normal. One of the reports revealed the presence of HSP, heat shock protein 72, human tumor cells, immune system, and CTL29. According to the report, the bioenergy field exposure to HSP72 human tumor cells, immune system, and CTL29 is addressed in stem cell delivery systems as associated with neural oscillator sensors to deliver specific gene therapies and nano delivery platforms. These specific parameters are made in a laboratory and not found in a human being unless they are going through some kind of new medical treatment for cancer or other diseases, which I'm not. Additionally, there was a presence of infrared glass in my body, which is associated with metal particulate matter, even nano metal particles. Some of the frequencies being directed toward my body were traced back to the Department of Homeland Security, the US military, medical body, BAN, and some others, according to Dr. Staninger's reports. Additionally, however, I purchased my own spectrum analyzer and was able to not only confirm these frequency bands in various locations, including outside the US, but also found many others that I have been able to document and also trace the frequencies myself in separate documents that I have already submitted to the commission. The people who are doing these types of crimes, in my case, are in the upper echelons of government, essentially operating outside the rule of law, violating all basic human rights. In 2016, I underwent a psychological evaluation, and the psychologist determined that my experiences were not attributable to mental illness, but rather that my case indeed looks like electronic assault. I also have various other forms of physical evidence of this electronic torture. For example, I experience what I refer to as suffocation. This is where I feel that my lungs are being significantly restricted in the inhalation process. I am able to exhale, but have difficulty making a full inhalation. It is analogous to a balloon that can deflate, but cannot be inflated all the way. Sometimes I can also feel my lungs literally being deflated, and then I have difficulty reinflating them. The perpetrators often do very severe levels of suffocation for many hours through the day and night on a daily basis, and have been doing so for almost 3 years now. I have been able to show the reduction in inhalation with an incentive spirometer, which is a device commonly used in medical settings to show the lung capacity during inhalation and to help exercise the lungs. As a biker and overall healthy person, I've always had a good, healthy lung capacity, as I discovered one day long ago in a college anatomy and physiology class when we tested our lung capacity